Hello guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Now today we are going to be talking about how to build muscle. I am going to give you the basics so you guys can go ahead and build muscle in the new 2023. Now we're going to talk about first of all the first component of building muscle, which is a calorie surplus or quote unquote a bulk. Now, what is a bulk calorie surplus? A calorie surplus is basically a phase where you eat over your maintenance calories in order to build muscle. Now, how do you find your maintenance calories, you may ask? So, I'm going to break this down. In the description below, I'm going to have a website that's called calorie.net where you can just type in basic information such as your age, your height, how much times you exercise, and your current body weight, and then it's going to give you rough calorie rate of your maintenance. And then once you have that, all I want you to do is go into your calculator or mentally calculate it, just add 200 or 400 calories onto your maintenance, and that's you in a bulking or calorie surplus phase. Now stay tuned in the further explanation of how to build muscle, where I'm going to break down several components so to make your life easier and so you can speed up your progress in the new 2023. Thank you. Stay tuned. Alright guys, welcome back to the second part of this series on how to build muscle. Now, quick disclaimer, I am going to be publishing a full detailed 1 hour course on YouTube soon. It's going to be basically everything you need to know to speed up your progress, from tips to from advice, from actual steps that you can apply. It's really valuable information that's going to be out for free very soon. Now, apart from that, let's talk about what you should be eating when you're in a calorie surplus. So first of all, we took over the basics. What is a calorie surplus? And now we're going to move on how you should eat in order to build muscle. So I would recommend we start with protein. So the scientific opinion is basically from 1 gram, you eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Now that's what's been working for several people, and it's certainly worked amazing for me. And I recommend you eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Now, if you're not used to calculations in LBS, which is pounds, I would recommend you eat 1.6 to 1.7 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Now, that's 2 ways to calculate it. And in terms of carbohydrates, there's no magic number. I'm just going to give you the normal rate that it's at the moment from scientists, which have given the information. 300 to 400 grams per day of carbohydrates should be your goal. Now, if you exceed, there is a high chance of fat gain, which I don't want any of you guys to enter. So I would recommend choosing carbohydrate sources such as, white rice, brown rice, sweet potato, normal potato, vegetables, rice cakes. Everything's going to be in the description. I'm going to compile a list of the top carbohydrates, good carbohydrates that you can get in order to build muscle. Now, I'm just going to name 5 good protein choices, which are probably simple and you guys already know. So one of them is fish. The other one, it doesn't matter what kind of fish, by the way. So one of them is fish, beef, mince, chicken. We've also got chickpeas. We've also got tuna, which is another type of fish. It's just stuff like that. Make sure your protein doesn't contain fat, as in it's just clear protein. I mean, you can obviously have a little bit of fat in it. Like, for example, some tuna cans, because normally tuna comes in cans, some tuna cans have sunflower oil in it, which is totally acceptable. But please make sure your protein is on point and your carbohydrates are on point in terms of progressing. Now stay tuned for the rest of this series, which I'm going to explain the further compounds of building muscle. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned, guys. This component is going to be how to exercise. Now, this is the most important, at least one of the most important factors in building muscle, exercise. Because of course, if you just eat a bunch of protein without exercising, you're not going to get any muscle at all. So I would recommend, first of all, right off the bat, is you focus on compound movements. Now, what are compound movements, you may ask? Compound movements are exercises that target multiple muscle groups at once. So what are these exercises, you may ask? These exercises are such as deadlifts, bench pressing, no matter if it's incline or flat. We've also got squats, any barbell rows, or in fact, shoulder press, the military press with the barbell, any movement that targets multiple muscle groups at once. Now, why would you focus on compounds? Compounds, as I say, they target multiple muscle groups at once. So it makes it easier to build muscle as you're, targeting and focusing on multiple muscle groups in order to build muscle. And it makes it way easier for yourself. Now, in terms of how to perform those exercises, again, you should aim to have a slow tempo. I am going to be posting a YouTube Shorts or a little YouTube video to explain what exercise tempo is very, very soon, in order for you guys to have a full understanding of what kind of tempo you should be using, or should you be training to failure and stuff like that. I'm going to be covering failure really, really soon in the next couple of chapters of this YouTube video. So this makes me move on to the next pillar, which is isolation movements. So isolation movements are basically movements that isolate the muscle, as in, I'm going to give you an example. Say if I picked up a dumbbell and then I started curling for bicep curls, that is going to target the bicep itself and the bicep only. And whereas if I done a bench press, that will not only target my chest, but it's going to target my triceps. So you get the point, compound and isolations. So the goal of this chapter of exercise is to give you an understanding that you should mix both. You should prioritize compounds, as again, they have the bigger bang for your buck. They target multiple muscle groups. And again, you should focus on isolations to add a little bit more stress on those harder to hit muscles. What are those muscles? Well, you may want to focus on your arms, such as biceps, triceps, shoulders. Make sure you do isolation movements for those. Don't go overboard. And that's basically the summary of it. Now, I'm going to be posting a little slideshow of the summary of every single chapter that we cover, so we don't have any confusion. Now, this is a simple channel, and I want to make sure everyone stays tuned and follows me throughout the way. Now, that is going to conclude this video, and I hope you stay tuned for the rest. Now, in this chapter, we are going to cover, is training to failure necessary, and how should we do it properly? So, first of all, I'm going to cover what is training to failure. So, muscle failure is basically when you complete an exercise until you cannot do it anymore. So, for example, if I took a dumbbell and I did bicep curls, for instance, and I completed that movement until I cannot anymore, and I can basically pull a rep out. That is what failure is. Now, is it necessary? Yes, of course, it's necessary, but to a certain level. Now, there's something called reps in reserve. It's basically, for example, if I feel myself that I'm going to fail in a movement, say for instance bicep curls, I would aim to leave 2 or 3 reps in reserve before I hit that failure stage. Now, to make this clear, I'm going to be publishing a YouTube video further in the future for you guys to have an understanding of what failure is, as I mentioned previously. Now, is it necessary? Yes, it is. As I just mentioned, it certainly is necessary to add a little bit of more stress to the muscle. It certainly depends on your volume as well. If you're not familiar with volume, it's basically the sets times reps times weight load. I'm not going to explain them in this video, but maybe in future series. So, how do we know that failure isn't damaging us? Well, as I said, you should be leaving a couple of reps in reserve and not go full out to failure, because you may be increasing your chances of overall muscle damage, which is our channel, which is our overall channel. But you're increasing your chance of injury is what I'm trying to say. So that's why failure is important, but again, you should not go overboard. So that's going to conclude this piece of chapter of what failure is and is it necessary. And I hope you stay tuned for the further chapters which I'm going to be covering in this module. Thank you for watching. Welcome to the last part of this series. We're going to be covering progressive overload in 3 steps. First of all, I'm going to be saying, what is progressive overload? Progressive overload is this phrase for constantly progressing each week, for instance. and it's used to constantly add stress to the muscle. Now, the second bit I want to say is, why is it important? Progressive overload is important because you cannot physically grow without progressing, and that is why we should be constantly adding stress each week. How do we do progressive overload, or how can we do progressive overload? Well, there's a lot of ways, but I'm not going to waste your time with the bullshit ways that personally haven't worked for me. But yet again, there's this saying, what works for me might not work for you, but like, it's generally the easiest way. Like, what I'm away to mention is the easiest way of how to progressively overload. It's called just simply adding 1 kg to the barbell, dumbbell, whatever you're doing each week. And that is the simplest way of progressive overload. Now again, the other ways which I found that also work for me is one other way, which is increasing your reps each week, has worked tremendously for me. So what I mean by progressive overload, I'm going to describe 2 of the methods so we avoid confusion. So the first method, as I said, is increasing your weight by 1 kg each week. All you do is grab that 1 kg little plate and add it to the barbell or dumbbell. If not, then all you do, if your dumbbells or barbells have the option of going up by 1 kg each week, and like if the gym offers you that, then you upgrade to 1 kg each week. And by reps, by increase of reps, I personally mean that, say for example, week 1 I did 6 reps, and week 2 I would aim to do 7 reps. And that is basically the description of both methods of progressive overload. And that's all you need to know in terms of progressive overload. Now stay tuned for the last section of this YouTube video, where I'm going to be covering my top tips and advice for building muscle. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Guys, welcome back to the YouTube video. Now, in this last section, we're going to be covering the top tips that I've compiled. They're 3 simple tips that you can follow every single day of your life in your fitness journey. Now, I'm not going to waste your time waffling. Let's get down to the 3 tips and advice I'm going to be sharing with you guys. So, the first tip is basically prioritizing your recovery more than your training. Now, of course, don't be one of those people that just skips the gym and constantly recovers. Now, you're not going to achieve anything by doing that. What I mean is, now I'm familiar that most of my viewers have heard this phrase before: no pain, no gain. That is fake. Do not listen to that. You're damaging yourself. Please prioritize recovery and overall rest. Now, what is the normal recovery range? I would recommend you recover anywhere from 1 to 3 days maximum in order to increase new levels of new muscle production. Now, that is the first tip from me. Now, the second tip is going to be progress by adding 1 kg each week. Now, we just talked about it in the previous section, but I just want to underline how important this tip is. So you should genuinely be progressive overloading each week in order to build new muscle. Now, if you fail to progressive overload, you're not going to be building any new muscle. That's why I want to preach this out to you and put the information out that it's really, really important that you progressive overload. And my personal best way is, as a beginner, I found that increasing my weight by 1 kg each week, or increasing my reps by 1 to 2 each week, genuinely helped me a lot in progressive overload. So that's what I recommend you do in terms of progressive overload. And the third tip is, don't train till failure. Leave reps in reserve. I cannot express myself too much on this topic. Failure is obviously required in order to build muscle, but please don't go overboard to the point that you damage yourself and cannot train anymore. And in that case, what is the point? Do not, please leave reps in reserve, and do not push yourself to your maximum capacity. Now, don't get me wrong, of course you should aim to push yourself each week and hammer away on those weights, feel free, but do not over exceed. Please know your limits and focus on your growth. Now, that is going to conceal this how to build muscle, the fundamentals. I'm going to be publishing a full detailed series documentary type on YouTube about how to build muscle in depth. Every single detail you can imagine in terms of how to build muscle, I am going to be covering in that 1 hour long course. It's going to be coming out sometime. Hello guys, thank you for watching our YouTube video on how to build muscle. Now the full course of this topic is going to be coming out very shortly, and it's going to cover all the information you could think of about how to build muscle for free. Now I thank you for watching. Please make sure to leave a like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. It will definitely help us a lot. And if you would like to receive your free workout plan and meal plan, please email us at muscledamage@outlook.com or just message us on Facebook. Thank you for watching, and make sure to keep on grinding and succeeding in fitness. Thank you guys. Have a fantastic day.